Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Dr. Joyce Kong, cosmetic dentist, and today I'm going to talk about Crest White Strips. Before we move forward, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my future videos on cosmetic dental procedures. So Crest White Strips are an entry-level whitening strip. It usually contains about 6 to 7% hydrogen peroxide, but I think this one is one of the stronger ones. It contains around 10% hydrogen peroxide. Now I'm going to cut to the chase. Do these work? Yes. Do they work on everyone? No. So that is really what I'm going to dive into today, and this is just a cosmetic dentist perspective. So on the surface, Crest White Strips are a great entry-level product. If you are just beginning your whitening journey, it's a great place to start to see how you react and how your teeth absorb the whitening product. So the good news is Crest White Strips contain the same active ingredient as some of the products that we would use in the office. The only difference is that because it's an over-the-counter product, the concentration of that active ingredient is much lower. In this box, you would get around 6 to 10% hydrogen peroxide, whereas in the office for a professional whitening procedure, you would get around 35 to 40% hydrogen peroxide, which is much stronger. Now, this still works for a lot of people, but if you are not experiencing any results, it may be that this is just not a strong enough product to penetrate into the tooth. But with most people, if they are diligent and they use them as directed, most of the time they will see results. If you are not aware of Crest White Strips at all, they come in these little packages, and once you open this, there is a strip inside. You lay the strip directly onto your teeth, and it's not custom fit for your mouth, so it will go over your gums. That is one of the cons of this product, is that it may irritate the gums, especially if you happen to have really sensitive gums. I also want to mention that if you have any cavities, loose teeth, stains from medications, or pending treatment, you will not want to use Crest White Strips. Crest White Strips should only be used on healthy enamel. So that's a broad overview of the cons. The pros are obviously that this is a very easy product to get your hands on. It is quite affordable, and they actually do work for a large number of people. From my experience, I've noticed that the people who get the best results from an over-the-counter product like this are generally teenagers and 20-year-olds who happen to not have years and years of staining accumulating within their tooth. As we go up in age, these stains compound against each other and become much more stubborn and much harder to lift. And so if you are 70 years old and it's your first time whitening, you'll have to be very, very diligent with whitening. And this product may not be strong enough. This product, you're only supposed to use 2 boxes of these a year. And so if you are limited to 2 boxes a year, that may not be enough for you to get really great results. In which case you'd want to come into the office and have this done professionally instead. Now let's talk about what to do if you have fillings or crowns that are already on the teeth. Like I said before, whitening strips are primarily meant for natural teeth, but sometimes you have a natural tooth and you have a small filling in that tooth. What you have to keep in mind is that the strip is not going to change the color of the actual filling. It'll only change the color of your tooth. So if you keep brightening your tooth, there may be a point at which you start to notice the difference between the filling and your tooth structure. That is why if I'm ever doing any sort of composite bonding to the front teeth, I always have patients whiten first, and then once they reach a color that they like, that is easy to maintain, I'll have them come into the office and then we match our bonding to that shade. Next, let's cover what you should do if you already have crowns or veneers on your teeth. I did a quick Google search of this online. It seems to say that whitening strips are fine to use on crowns, veneers, and fillings. However, as a cosmetic dentist, I would highly, highly recommend against this. The reason is because porcelain restorations such as crowns and veneers have a glaze on them that help make them look nice and shiny. But with continued use of any over-the-counter or professional whitening products directly on that glaze, it can strip the glaze and make the crowns look dull over time. The other thing is that similarly to a composite bonding, the whitening strip will have no effect on any porcelain restorations. So there's no point in putting the strip on the porcelain restoration. Now, if you happen to have, like for instance, 2 front teeth with crowns and the rest are natural, I think that it's a great idea to customize your whitening strip. What you can do is actually take a strip like this, cut it in half, and then put one side around the natural teeth on the right and one side on the natural teeth on the left, avoiding the 2 front teeth. I actually have a visual on how I do this on my Instagram reels. Now let's talk about sensitivity, because I think the general consensus is that most people think there's something wrong when their teeth are sensitive from whitening. It doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong if you are sensitive from teeth whitening. In fact, sensitivity is one of those things that is an inherent part of the whitening process. I would say most people are sensitive to teeth whitening, but it should be transient and it should disappear within a few days. Sensitivity is also one of those things that depends on the person. Some people are just more sensitive to teeth whitening than other people, and it doesn't mean that anything is necessarily wrong, and it doesn't mean that there's anything necessarily wrong with the product. Now, with Crest White Strips, the concentration is much lower, so you would expect for there to be much less sensitivity from usage. But because Crest White Strips are not a professional grade product, they actually have additives in the strip to make them more heat stable for when they're being transported from warehouses to CVS to Target to other drugstores. And that is what makes Crest White Strips have a little bit more sensitivity, even though the actual concentration of the product is lower. So if you happen to be one of those people that are just really, really sensitive to teeth whitening, it may be a good idea to switch to a professional grade product that doesn't have those additives, but stay at a low concentration and use it a little more diligently. It'll take more sessions to get to the desired color, but there's no point in torturing yourself and making yourself go through so much sensitivity in order to get there. Overall, I think the most important aspect of using a lower grade over-the-counter product is just to be diligent and consistent to get those results. Now, let's say you've already used 2 of these boxes and you're barely getting any results. It may be a good idea to get a professional whitening done with your dentist. They can use much higher concentration products that'll penetrate the tooth more deeply. But it may be that you have a type of tooth that doesn't whiten as easily. Some types of teeth whiten more easily than others, and I don't think that people really realize that. Yellow toned teeth tend to whiten a little bit more easily, whereas gray toned teeth don't whiten as easily and require much more diligence. With those types of teeth, even if you are using a higher professional grade product, it may take multiple sessions for you to start to see results. And the last point I do want to make is that everybody has a different wall that they reach when they're trying to teeth whiten. Let's say that you've been bleaching and bleaching and bleaching, and you whitened in the beginning, but you're not whitening anymore. It may be that your teeth just won't whiten any more than this. And so if you desire to be even brighter than that, it could be that you need to go to a restorative option like putting a veneer over the tooth, because teeth whitening is not going to get you there. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful. I really do think Crest White Strips are a great product, but it's not a one-size-fits-all for every single person. And so I wanted to do this video to help clarify some of those things. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe, and I'll be back next time with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye!